Jenny. Welcome back to my channel. If you're not familiar with me, I am a human, just being, dropping all those titles or labels from previous videos and just being. On today, I'm going to talk about heels. Let's 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 talk about heels. Are they chunky? Are they skinny? Are they comfortable? Oh, sorry. Just listen to Drake song. What the fuck the function? Every song of this man drops some. Every single summer Drake drops something that just, yeah, it lives in my head rent motherfucking free. Yeah, just rent free. Yeah. And I'm grateful for it. Not upset, not judging, not wanting him to stop. Thankful and grateful for it. Yeah. Drizzy. All right. Back to the topic. Okay, so today we're gonna talk about high heel shoes. Yeah, that's one of those things. You know, everybody has their own love-hate as women. Excuse me, all women have a love-hate relationship with high heel shoes. We love to buy them. We love to look at them. We love to try them on, but we hate to wear them. We hate to wear them. I know so many women that have a closet full of high heel shoes that's just collecting dust. They just dusty. They still in the same box that they came in. You never wore them. And as a matter of fact, they done went in style, out of style, in style, came back. I mean, went out of style and came back in style again. Yeah. So I myself have had that same experience up until a few, I would say about 7 years ago. I used to have that same experience. So I totally understand the concept, but at this point, I ain't wasting my money on no more heels. I'm wearing them. And heels just speak to my femininity, you know, as a woman. I love to wear heels. Ooh, if you see me, if we meeting, if I'm going somewhere, I'm have on some high heel shoes. If I got on sneakers, it's just because I have more heels than sneakers in my closet. Yeah, I have way more heels than sneakers because I'm always in a pair of heels. Anyway, so let's talk about the history of heels. Heels originally, I'll say there is no specific time frame identified in history where heels have, they can say heels were created. There's a history in, historically in Egypt. Egyptians wore heels. Egyptian men wore heels to signify their wealth and status. In the Middle East, men wore heels to, soldiers wore heels, excuse me, not men. Well, yeah, soldiers, which were men, wore heels to secure their stirrups. And if you think about it, when we think about cowboy boots have a heel on them. I know nowadays the heel isn't as high as they used to be when I was a little girl, because, honey, they was clacking just like some bitches rock around here, okay? With cowboy boots on. If you think about cowboy boots and the design of the shoe, it has a small heel on it, even to this day. But the cowboy boot is to secure the stirrup onto the shoe. Excuse me, the heel is to secure the stirrup onto the shoe, which is still a thing nowadays, actually. But that practice originated in the Middle East. Also in Europe, two things from Europe. In Europe, heels originated with butchers. I wanted to say in the kitchen, but when they was cutting up cows and, you know, doing their butchering, they weren't in the kitchen. So, but they originally started wearing heels. Butchers started wearing heels in Europe to navigate the debris that was on the floor. And if you think about that, there was no health code, there was nothing. So when they was cutting meat and scraps and entrails and stuff that they weren't going to use. That shit probably went right onto the floor, or yeah, directly on the floor. They weren't throwing that in the trash. So, also in Europe, if we reflect, I love the Elizabethan era. And so just thinking about, and I also love history. So as I reflect on the Elizabethan era and going to various museums and things that I've learned about history, even in the history books back in the day, because they're trying to change a lot of shit in history. I'm gonna move away from that. I'm not gonna go further into that. But if you think about history, as far as the Elizabethan era, and you go back and look at those paintings from the 17th century and the 16th century, most of the rich and wealthy men were the ones who wore heels, and that's exactly the history in Europe. The men of wealth and status in Europe wore those heels. And so the funniest thing about all of this, everything that the common denominator in all of the history with heels is men were the first ones to wear heels. Interesting. Very interesting. I found that very, very interesting that heels denoted wealth and status, and so amongst men in ancient times. I would say back in the day, but honey, that was eons ago. Okay, centuries ago. If you want to learn more about the history of high heels and anything that I mentioned on today, you can Google that shit, because I ain't no paid endorsements here yet. So Google it. Yeah. So I'm going to talk about my personal history with heels. When I think about my personal history with heels, it started as a toddler. Most of us started out wearing those tiny, tiny block heel shoes. I'm choosing to call them block heel because I don't know any other way to describe the heel on that shoe. Those black or white and patent leather shoes that we wore with the ruffle socks and our big cane dresses as little girls to church, you know. And of course, those shoes weren't as uncomfortable. Those shoes weren't uncomfortable to me. I could remember loving to put on I loved Sunday service simply because I was able to dress up in the music. So getting ready for church, putting on my heels, or what I chose to call heels, because they were a heel to me. They weren't as flat as my flat loafer shoes that we had to wear, and you know, gave me a little height, so I thought I was doing something as a little girl. I have on my ruffle socks and on my cane dresses with my ribbons in my hair and my barrettes, and honey, you could not tell me nothing. If you have been watching me for any amount of time, you know that I am a huge lover of fashion. So as a little girl, stepping out in my church dress and my little white shoes and my ribbons and just all of it, just so made up. It made me feel so beautiful. So beautiful as a little girl. Then, of course, you know, when I got to middle school, I went from wearing those patent leather shoes with the block heel on it to actually wearing kitten heels. Or elementary and middle school, we started wearing those kitten heels. And while they were a little bit more comfortable, what I loved about kitten heels as a preteen, as a preteen in elementary and middle school, was a stride. Now with the kitten heels, you can hear, you know I love music. Y'all been following me for some time, so you guys know that I am a lover of music. And when I think about making music, as a child, that was my introduction to making my own music. My stride, the sound of those heels as I walked or ran, music to my ears. I absolutely love the sound to this day that my heels make on the floor. I love how when I walk, my stride denotes the confidence or the lack of confidence I have in that moment. Because when you're not confident in your shoes and you have on high heel shoes, you can hear it. If you rushing and you like, oh, I'm trying to get to where I need to go, and you have on high heel shoes, you can hear. You can tell a lot about a woman as she steps, or her. You can tell a lot about me and how I feel. Excuse me, in that moment by the stride of my heels, or the sound that my heels are making as I walk. So, I absolutely love those kitten heels. Now, one thing often not talked about when we have a conversation about those shoes, well, you know, you kind of, those are kind of kitten heels are an introduction to high heel shoes, right? And so as I got older, you know, of course, in middle school, like I said, we wore the kitten heels. We did wear the block or stacked heels. But when I got to high school, that's when we were wearing the stacked heels. And high school and young adult, chunky/stacked heels were not a thing. If you had chunky heels, people was looking at you like you was crazy. Now, you can have a pair of wedges, and, you know, that'll be perfectly fine. But you were nothing if you didn't have a pair of stiletto heels. That skinny pointed heel, you weren't nothing. You just, if you couldn't walk in them, nobody was even checking out your fashion, because it was like, look at her shoes. People still do that. We check out the shoes and it's like, what are those? What are those? You know? And so I was one of those, I was one of the teens though. I wasn't able to wear stiletto heels. My heels would curve in, the point of the shoe would curve in like this, because I'm gonna say there were multiple factors that affected my ability to walk in high heels, and I believe that my weight was one of them. I'll talk about in another video how I went from this person to the person that you see before you today. Because, honey, it took a while. But that's another topic in a whole nother video. But, you know, I think at that time I was over 300 pounds. And while there are some women that are voluptuous and, you know, in that weight class that can walk in stiletto heels, I myself could not walk in stiletto heels. And again, that's why I think, again, I'm going to go back to, excuse me, there were other factors. I don't know if it had specifically to do with weight or to do with my feet, because I have flat feet as well. And so that may have been a factor as to why every time I put on stiletto heels, or even the skinny heels, because all heels, you know, even pumps aren't considered stiletto. And so even when I put on pumps, that telling you the back of the heel supposed to be pointed down, go in like that. I could not at that weight class wear those types of shoes. You know, there was nothing I could do. You know, I was really restricted during that time to wedges, sandals, and flats. And if you knew me back in the early 2000s, I was always in a pair of flip-flops, especially from Old Navy. Old Navy had them back in the day. You can get 2 or 3 pair of flip-flops that were comfortable, because they flip-flops are trash now. I don't even know if they still sell them, but they need to throw them in the trash. They're not comfortable at all. There's no quality to those flip-flops. You can get flip-flops 2 or 3 pair for $5, and they had them in so many colors. That was me. I was always in a pair of flip-flops because I could not. Shoes were just uncomfortable to me. Heels were uncomfortable to me, but shoes in general were very uncomfortable to me. And so, of course, I was one of those women, like most of us. I would only wear heels for pictures. Bring my heels with me in my purse. I would bring my heels with me, especially when I became an adult, you know, in those 20s. Would bring my heels with me in my purse, or they would be in the back seat of the car. We'd get out. We would take all the pictures in the parking lot. And by the time, or in the restaurant, because of course the big, gigantic, oversized purses were a thing back then, right? And they still a thing, but not for me. I'm more of a clutch girl. But anyway, I would have my heels in my purse. I would have my heels in my purse, take them out, put them on, take all the pictures. And the pictures, you only had a limited time of about 5 to maybe 10 minutes in these shoes. And then I had to take them off and put my flip-flops back on because heels were just so incredibly uncomfortable to my feet. So I realized though, and again, this is why I say that I'm not sure if it had anything to do specifically with my weight. I think that weight played a part in it, but I also believe that it had a lot to do with my feet. At the time, and even now, you know, we don't really, we don't think about working out the muscles in our feet. Especially because we walk on our feet every day. So how the hell are we not working out the muscles in our feet? But just like your hands could be weak because you're not, even though you're using them to do various tasks around, like I'm keep moving my hands while I'm talking, where you use them for various tasks. We are made up of a series of intricate muscles that extend far past our legs and our stomach and our arms, you know. So working out, I realized that I had to work out the muscles in my feet and my hands, but that's another story. But the muscles in my feet in order for me to tolerate heels because my feet were very weak and so were my ankles. I had a huge issue when I first started wearing heels where my ankles would roll to no avail and I would have the most horrible foot pain simply because my feet was weak. Now, I'm not a podiatrist. I'm not a medical professional by no means or sense of the word. However, I'm going to give you guys the same advice that I'm going to give you guys this advice. No one's giving it to me. I just kind of stumbled upon this knowledge on my own, trying to strengthen the calf muscles and strengthen my calves. And I realized doing calf raises actually built the muscles in my ankles and feet. So all the time I'm constantly doing calf raises to not just to make my calves look good, but to build the muscles in my ankles as well as my feet. Once I started doing calf raises, I realized I kind of noticed that I was able to tolerate my heels for a significant amount of time. I don't mean like, oh, I'm able to walk from here to there in a pair of heels. No, I'm able to walk for quite some time in my heels or stand, because sometimes standing in heels can be excruciating pain. You know, sometimes we get to the point, and especially if you have weak feet, you can stand up in heels, and if that's the only shoe you chose to wear that day, you walking in high heel shoes or having to stand up in shoes and you start experiencing that foot pain, you just kind of black out. Like the pain just, how can I say it? You just go numb. You're numb to the pain. You mentally, I would mentally disconnect from the pain that I was feeling so that I wouldn't pay it any attention, because if I don't have another pair of shoes, and I'm crazy enough to just wear this pair of high heel shoes knowing that my feet are going to start hurting at some point, I have to be able to withstand walking in these heels or standing in these heels for whatever amount of time. And even if the pain has reached a certain level, I had to mentally disconnect so that I could tolerate them until I was able to take them off, you know? And so, but what I did, you know, back to my point, doing basic calf raises and working out have helped me build the muscles in my feet so that I could tolerate my high heel shoes. Okay. Before I talk about this shoe, let's talk about the parts of a shoe. All right. So on the inside, which is everything that is underneath this part right here, you have the foam insole, you have a filler, you have padding, you have welt, and you also have a metal shank. inside the shoe. That's all inside of here. Now this would be considered the padding of the shoe, and right underneath it would be the foam insole. And so when we talk about high heels, let's be honest, this isn't very big. So one thing I realized before I go any further with what the description of the shoe is, all of those things account for your comfort and durability of a shoe. If some of these things are missing because it's been cheaply made, I realize I can't buy cheap shoes because my foot just won't tolerate a cheap shoe. And when I mean cheap shoes, and some people consider this cheap, anything under $200 for me when it comes to high heel shoes, I can't wear. Now, I always get my shoes on sale. Well, I don't always get them on sale. That's a lie. Let me not lie to you guys. I get a lot of my shoes on sale. I'm a huge Torrid girl. So if you're wanting shoes, and again, Torrid isn't paying me for this shit, but you know, a lot of my shoes come from Torrid, and I'm being honest about the brand of shoes that are the most comfortable for me. And side note, while the majority, because not all of my shoes come from Torrid, while the majority of my shoes come from Torrid, all shoes are not the same because there's somebody buying these shoes. Every shoe may look alike, but they're not all made from the same distributor, and they don't all the same. They don't all provide that same level of comfort. So a lot of the shoes on my channel going forward probably will come from Torrid. However, I'm going to give honest reviews in reference to these shoes because from personal experience, you can buy a shoe that looks similar in style, however, it is not comfortable. So back to the parts of the shoe. All right, so you have the toe strap that is here and the ankle strap. This is called a counter, and then this is the heel. Now this is called a straight heel. There's two types of heel. You have the straight heel and the curved heel. We'll discuss the curved heel, which is mostly pumps, and stiletto shoes have a curved heel, which is kind of like the little booty on the back. It curves here. The counter actually curves, and then the heel kind of comes from that part. But all right. So with all the parts of everything that I mentioned, again, it's very important for me to buy shoes that are of a certain quality because my foot and my level of comfort and just me knowing how important and how I like to walk in my shoes for hours at a time. I can't buy anything that's lackluster when it comes to high heels because I need to be able to walk in my shoes at all times. Okay? If I have on heels, I need to be able to be comfortable in my shoes for a significant amount of time. Otherwise, yeah, I'm not. It's going to ruin the whole event or the function or whatever I'm at for me. Because sometimes you go places you can't always sit down, you know, and so I don't want to have to sit down or be tied to a chair because my heels are hurting my feet. I need to be up walking around and enjoying myself. And one thing that I know is important for me is the quality of the materials that's on the inside of the shoe is going to make a world of difference. And if you think about it, like I said a little bit earlier, look at this. If any of that is lacking inside this shoe, the shoe is only so big. I can afford not to have any of what I just mentioned inside of these shoes because they're so the makeup of them is so, I can't think of the words. What word am I trying to say? Like the structure of the shoe is, we only working with so much room. And so if we take out, and I've had shoes on that had the insole, had the padding underneath, and that was it. I could feel the metal shank inside underneath my foot. I literally could feel that. And it was poking me in my foot and I couldn't wear it. It was so uncomfortable. So I'm really big on the quality of shoe. And again, Torrid has some of the most comfortable heels for women that are, I won't say plus size, even though it's a plus size store, but I will say for women who have a difficulty in tolerating certain types of heels, Torrid is, I've not found any other shoes like Torrid shoes, in all honesty, for the price and the quality for the price. Top tier, in my opinion. People say, I mean, if you feel like you had found some quality shoes at another place, you know, for such as Ashley Stewart or Lane Bryant or whatever, then okay. But for me, I've not found any quality shoes from those places, and I buy shoes from all over. If I find a shoe that I like, I'm definitely gonna buy it, and I can fit it, and it feels comfortable at that time, I'm gonna purchase it. However, after I walk in them for a little while, I can tell that the quality of the shoe is not. And I know a lot of these plus size brands shop from the same distributor. However, some of the shoes, not the quality, it's just not there. When we talk about high heel shoes, so anyway. All right. I'm out of wine. Hold on, I'm gonna go get me a refill. All right, I'm back. Had to go get my refill. How dare I let my cup? How dare I? And of course, I honestly don't. I don't fill my cup up. I only drink a little bit because I'm fancy like that. But I can't let it go empty. Oh, how dare I let my cup go empty? Ugh. Anyway. So, let's talk about the pros and cons of this shoe. We're going to start with the pros. The inside of this shoe, when I say the foam inside is this is a solid foam insole in this shoe. There's some padding at the ball of the foot, which makes a world of difference. The padding in the front of the shoe makes such a world of difference. And it made the shoe a lot more comfortable for my toes. Because I forgot to tell you guys. So I went to a wedding. Now, when I wore these shoes, I've worn them a few times before, but recently I went to a wedding. Let me just say, congratulations, Aisha and Gary. I send you waves and waves of love. Endless, pure, sweet love. Okay? Sorry. So, in true Jennifer fashion, when I arrived to this wedding, I got there late, so there was no seating for me. And the wedding was about to get started. So, and while I was there, I stood most of the time for I had on the shoe a max of 3 hours. I stood for 2 of those hours, actually, at the wedding. And I will say that foam insole at the toe of the shoe made a world of difference in my comfortability and being able to withstand standing for that amount of time and in that setting. Now, I was not able to feel the metal shank on the inside of the shoe. Like I said a little bit before, I've bought shoes that were very cheap, not from Torrid actually. Years ago, before they started making quality shoes for big girls, I was able to feel the metal shank. This time I wasn't able to feel the metal shank. The shoe does seem to be supported with the fillers and the welt beneath, which makes it very comfortable even when you step down. Even when I was walking on grass, you know, sometimes when you walk on grass or you walk in uneven surfaces, you kind of feel unstable. You have a tendency to feel unstable. Never felt that. And I did walk on, I walked on grass and didn't feel unstable when it came to the shoe at all. Now my foot did, oh, I'm gonna talk about the pros, excuse me, I'll talk about the cons. The sole on the bottom of the sole on the bottom of the shoe, this is the platform sole. The sole on the bottom, you can even look at my shoes, you know. The sole on the bottom of the shoe is very solid, and they are stable. They are some stable, comfortable, straight heel shoes that I honestly enjoyed wearing. Now, some of the cons when it came to this shoe was the toe strap. Initially, all women have worn shoes, strappy shoes, and know that that toe strap has a tendency to rub up against that pinky toe. Whew, Jesus. Talk about some pain and give us what old people like to call corns on your toe, but it's just, you know, it's breaking down the skin on your toe. As it heals, that skin gets hard and you have to put the little pads on it to make them fall off, or you can actually put the pads on the on your pinky toe to protect it. They still have them available, but my grandma used to wear them all the time. Or you can go to the drugstore or even the grocery stores; they sell them now. But that was not my issue with these shoes, with that toe strap. When I first wore the shoe, the toe strap cut my big toe, and it caused a nice little paper line cut in the big toe and on both feet. I don't know if I don't even know how that happened, because when I touch it, it doesn't feel like there is any thread or any sharp edges on it to be able to cut the toe, but it cut right across where my cuticle and my toenail meet, if that makes sense. So it cut my big toe. The ankle strap to me needs so many more holes in it. I was not able to strap the shoe to my foot comfortably, if that makes sense. When I would put the shoes on, I needed more holes in it so that I could feel comfortable and stable in the shoe when it came to the ankle strap. Now, a part of that issue with the toe strap was the counter. The counter felt like it was too wide, honestly. So, meaning like the sides here didn't come over far enough, and so when it came time for me to put my foot into the shoe, I had an issue with the shoe. And I ordered these online, so it wasn't like I was able to, and I actually sized down. This is a size 9 wide. I typically wear a size 9.5, so I sized down, just so we're aware. And when I would put the shoe, when I wore the shoe, the counter sometimes, especially my foot sweat, and I also I'm a lotion girl, so baby, lotion in between the toes, lotion on the sole of the foot. Well, not in shoes like this because you slip and slide, but I do lotion in between my toes because I'm of a certain age, and baby, that toe skin start to crack and peel, and that's not cute. It's ugly and it stinks. But that's a different topic that I have no desire to discuss. So let me talk about toes and all of that. But yeah, the counter didn't come all the way wasn't wide enough. So when it came time for me to step at certain points, like when I was walking in on carpet, my foot kind of slid forward just a little bit, and when I would try to put my foot back in place, my foot would go to one side, or it would go to one side instead of sliding back into the counter, which is why I said it's not wide enough on the back of the shoe. But overall, the shoe is comfortable and it's stable. I was able to stand, sit, and walk around in this shoe for 3 hours. That was the max time that I was in, and I was comfortable. I comfortably walked, stood, took pictures and everything in my shoes for 3 hours max. Now, after that 3 hours, it got a little iffy, honey. I'm not even gonna lie, because it's a high heel shoe, you know. It got really, really iffy. So, after that point, it was like, I knew it was time to take them off. My foot needed a rest. And so, yeah. So, I would recommend anybody, this is technically a wedding shoe. But as a stylist, I've worn these shoes. Since then, I've worn them out to lounges. I've worn them on dates. I've worn these shoes on multiple occasions, and these are some very comfortable, and it's a solid made shoe. I'm not sure about the price, but I know that I caught them on sale. You can go on Torrid website. They may not have them in stock or on the website, but keep trying back, because this shoe generally sells out pretty quick. And this is one of the shoes that they always bring back. I don't know why I did that. Maybe it was because of the wine. Who knows? But this is one of the shoes that Torrid typically has in stock. They keep this in stock. So I would recommend you buying this shoe and wearing the shoe. Also, I forgot to talk about the rubber lift. Now, most of the time I forgot to mention that as I was writing my notes, but most of the time when if you're walking, and again, I have flat feet, so, and if you know anything about flat feet, you know, it's not even. They're not even. You know, when you're walking, and one side of your shoes, you know, I have heels from my past that I've just kind of recently thrown out because I can't wear them anymore. But I would look at the sole of the shoe, and one side of the heel will be rubbed off as opposed to the other side because my foot would lean. And so, but with these, I have no issues with that. And again, I don't know if that has to do with weight or the makeup of my foot or not, but I'm not, there's not a lot of wear aside of the scuffing from, you know, dirt and the elements of the environment. There's not a lot of wear on these, and I've had these shoes. I've worn these shoes quite some time over the last several months that I've had them. So again, I would recommend these shoes from Torrid for anybody who wants a good, solid, high heel shoe that is comfortable and you're able to wear it for a long time. And it's heavy, honey. I don't know. Can y'all hear that? You know? Yeah, it's a solid, heavy shoe. I genuinely felt beautiful. Wearing heels to me is all about your divine. Stepping into my divine feminine energy, and I love, love, love wearing high heel shoes. It makes me feel beautiful. It encourages my femininity, and it's just so pretty. You know, shoes are so pretty. High heels are so pretty. So I love them, and I recommend that shoe. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Also, before I close, I just want to encourage all my women out there. I know a lot of times we forget to wear our high heel shoes, and like I said, some of us got high heel shoes that's in the same box that's collecting dust in your closet that you bought them in, and the bag that the shoes came in, and it has all of the padding and the materials that came with the shoe. Dust that box off. Take them goddamn heels out their closet and start wearing your high heel shoes. If your feet hurt while you wear these shoes, do some calf raises to help strengthen the muscles in your feet and see if that'll help. But wear your high heel shoes, honey. Wear them, break them in, practice walking in them. Go outside on your sidewalk or walk up and down your steps. I seen this old episode. This was years ago. Patti LaBelle said she break her high heel shoes in by walking up and down the steps in her house and walking around her house, and she cooking them and just everything to break her high heel shoes in. Break those shoes in. Pull those shoes out. And wear them heels. High step in this motherfucker with your heels on, bitch. Yes. Come on, ladies. It's nothing wrong with wearing a pair of high heel shoes and feeling beautiful. And do it for you. Don't do it for nobody else. Don't take nobody else into consideration, because, honey, when I wear my heels, I'm wearing them for me. Don't think about how your friend's gonna feel. Don't think about how your man gonna feel. He probably wants you to wear them heels because he been wanting you to pull these shoes out the closet for a long time. But that's neither here nor there. Wear them for you. Dust them boxes off and wear them heels and high step around this motherfucker. Okay? It's nothing like being a woman. Embrace that feminine energy. Embrace that femininity. And I will see you guys later.